All right, so a lot of you guys know I've been talking about e-bike laws, regulations, licensing, and battery certification now on the channel for quite some time. And I've done a video on this bike specifically about 2 months ago out in Arizona called the Lectric xpeak 2.0. This is a bike that basically fits every criteria, class 1, 2, and 3, all in the same box with a torque sensor, 750 watt motor, and a max output of 1310 watts. Is this legal to ride where you live? Well, we're gonna be talking about that in today's video. Let's open this box up and put the bike together. So the xpeak 2.0 is basically 75% built right out of the box. Very well packaged. The only thing I had to do is put on the front tire, the handlebar, the pedals, and slightly tune a couple of things to my liking, and now I'm ready to go on the trail. But a couple of things I wanted to talk about was, they actually listened to us when we were filming out in Arizona. I talked about how this could probably nick up and scratch and maybe even puncture the casing for the battery. Now this casing is really, really strong and durable. But with that being said, they put these little stoppers here on the frame to stop any nicking, any damages. This bike is really, really well packaged right out of the box. No damage at all. And that's saying a lot for FedEx and UPS out there. When you're getting your bikes, you really, really got to take a good look at these bad boys. All right, so before we get into the meat and potatoes on whether or not the xpeak 2.0 will basically be on the chopping block when it comes to laws and regulations, let's talk about the spec list on what this bike has to offer. Now, I'm sure a lot of you guys might have already seen my previous video on the high step version out in Arizona, riding that thing in some really treacherous territories. Now I've got the step through, so I'll have a good representation of what to expect out of both styles. So let's get right into the specs, and then we'll get right into the laws and regulations. The xpeak Step Through 2.0 retails for $13.99 with the standard battery configuration, giving you a max range of 60 miles, while the long range configuration retails for $15.99, giving you a max range of 80 miles. Now your range, power, and speed output is all going to depend on the terrain you're riding and your body weight. Now the xpeak 2.0 ships as a class 2 electric bike, getting you a top speed of 20 miles per hour, but can also be unlocked as a class 3 electric bike, getting you a top speed of 28 miles per hour. That's all out of a 750 watt motor with a max peak of 1310 watts. Now Lectric always likes to be first in class, and this is no different. This is the RST Renegade front suspension fork, and it has 80 millimeters of travel. This is pretty high end for a bike like this. Now speaking of high end, you also get a very intuitive torque sensor. I'm a big advocate of torque sensors over cadence sensors for the sole fact that you actually get rewarded for the effort that you're putting into your ride. Now, like we spoke about before, the power output of this bike is a 750 watt motor with a max peak of 1310 watts. You're also coupling that with a 48 volt 20 amp hour battery pack that is UL certified 2271, while the xpeak 2.0 is also UL certified with UL certification 2849. Now that's a brief rundown of the specs of the xpeak 2.0, but if you're looking for a full review of this bike, definitely click the link in the description below after we check out if this bike is actually going to be able to pass the new laws and regulations coming across the country. Now, a lot of the talk you're going to hear in today's video with laws, regulation, and licensing may not have hit your area just yet, but it's happened in California and it's trickled its way throughout the entire country. I feel like every week I'm coming out with a new news segment talking about laws and regulations in a whole new state. With that being said, let me know where you live in the comments section below and if it's affected you so far. But right now, bikes like that xpeak 2.0 are basically on the chopping block, and I'll explain why. But first, let's talk about this news segment right here.
California is cracking down on certain electric bicycles. CBS 47's Jason Toktagian talked with those working at a Valley bike shop about which e-bikes are now illegal.
Nowadays, it seems like all of our modes of transportation have electric versions of themselves, including bikes. But now in California, new legislation changes the definition of what exactly an electric bike is.
It will regulate some of the bicycles from being sold as bicycles. You know, they're motor vehicles, a lot of kids on them.
All right, so let's pause the video right here and talk about age restriction. I do believe there should be some type of an age restriction on electric bikes on roadways. Now, that being said, I don't think there should be one when it comes to trails or walking paths or any of that stuff. Unless you're doing something reckless, you shouldn't really get pulled over. With that being said, age restriction, in my opinion, should be around 15 or 16 years old when you're getting your driver's license. You're learning about your surroundings, you're learning about motor vehicles, but that's not to say somebody 11, 12, 13 years old don't already know about those things. Me, as a parent, I teach my kids that. I teach my kids how to look both ways, look out for cars, how to judge how fast a car is coming before they cross the road. That's up to the parent to do. Let's get a little bit further.
Electric bicycles, also known as e-bikes, under new regulations in California.
They've just really adopted industry standards in terms of the class of bicycles. Class 1, Class 2, Class 3 are bicycles. So they've just kind of put that into law. And it looks like maybe they've also outlawed modification of those bikes.
According to SB 1271, bikes intended by the manufacturer to be modified to go over 20 miles per hour, go over 750 watts of motor power, or have its operable pedals removed are no longer considered electric bikes.
Now the wording of that is very specific. It says that if it's the intent of the manufacturer for the bike to go over 20 miles per hour in the modifiable condition, then it is illegal. A bike like that, as well as a lot of other electric bikes, are illegal unless there's some type of software, which there are other companies out there doing software pushes to be able to update their bike to make it legal. I don't know what lectric is going to be doing in this situation, especially when it comes to 750 watts when it comes to a motor, because this has a max output of, I believe, 1,310 watts, which is awesome. It's very, very powerful. But at the end of the day, if they're going to be strict on these laws, bikes like this are going to be illegal. Let's go further.
Lawsuits that we've mostly seen are from bikes that will spec a substandard brake or a substandard, suspension fork on the front, so they're looking to have a price point, but then the bikes aren't engineered.
Although the new law doesn't exactly make buying modifiable electric bikes illegal, it does mean those bikes won't be allowed on public roads or in bike paths.
Now remember that. Your bike isn't illegal for you to buy. You could go out and buy this xpeak 2.0. You could go out and buy a ton of different bikes. A couple of the bikes you see here up on the wall, these are modified electric BMX bikes that definitely would not fit the criteria that this is specifying. But it's not to say you can't buy those things. Basically, you're not allowed to ride these things on local trails or roads because it would be illegal.
At Rubber Soles Bicycles, they believe the new legislation is good news for business.
It's positive for our business because all our bicycles fall under those guidelines and are all of good quality and well engineered.
More importantly, Rich believes the new legislation will make e-bikes safer.
I think there's litigation and regulation that will reduce the number of substandard, under-engineered product available to the consumer.
And lawsuits are already being filed nationwide against e-bike manufacturers. Just this past week in the Bay Area, a woman filed a lawsuit against California-based Super 73, alleging that those bikes can be modified to go over 20 to 28 miles per hour. In Fresno, Jason Taktagian, CBS 47 Eyewitness News.
Now, I don't know how far that lady is going to be getting with that lawsuit or if it's going to affect other brands that are out there. Now, it's kind of a touchy, weird situation in my opinion. I mean, I feel like a lot of states are following suit from what California's been implementing, but how are they going to be really able to regulate it and enforce it? That's the real question. Are they going to be on the side of the road like this? Now they went a bit overboard and it's a bit insane. It's not here in the US, but it might end up coming to the US, you never know. I do want to get my hands on one of those little dynos. I think it'd be perfect in this shop here. Let me know in the comment section below where you live. Have these laws affected you? Do you think that you're going to be one of those people that gets pulled over? I do see a lot of people basically getting around this by one way or another coming out with their own little decals because a lot of cops don't know how to basically do anything more than just kind of look at the stamping on the hub or look at the stamping on the bike. With that being said, until we get one of these dynos here in the US, that might be the best course of action. Definitely let me know your thoughts in the comment section below and where you think these laws are going in the future. With that being said, if you guys like this video, drop a like. If you love it, hit the subscribe button and I'll catch you in the next one.